So, a while back, I felt like revisiting this game. Just for no particular reason. So I did. I played through the whole thing, had a little bit of fun, and then I finished it. And then a few days later, the thought hit me, you know what, I could also play the whole thing and record it. My old save file got corrupted, and I've deleted the new one. The time we're trying to improve is 5 hours and 59 minutes, which is a little bit of time. It's it's a fairly fast time. It's really average, actually. It's what most people usually take to beat this game. We're trying to improve on that. We're going to go for normal difficulty because that's the intended way to play this game. All of these other ones are basically for replays, and I'm trying to get a good grasp of and share with you just about how this game functions and where its design might have been a little rushed. Because this game's really fascinating from a game design standpoint. You can learn a lot from its mistakes. Controls for this game are fairly basic. You have your shoot, your jump, your big jump, your short jumps. Fairly uninteresting overall. You also have a little mechanic the game just doesn't even bother telling you about because the developers knew you would never use it, which is this. I'm just gonna show footage of it for a few seconds because that's probably the only time you'll ever see me use this in this whole playthrough.
Once again, the president has declared a countrywide state of emergency.
Once again, that wacky old goober.
Reports of haywire robots rampaging out of control.
52. Wait a second. Hold on. That's not right.
My fellow Americans.
My fellow Americans, let me be very clear.
It's Blackwell. Hello, is this thing on?
Yo! That's him! So if you couldn't tell, Avi is kind of my favorite character. He is one of truly the scrunkly blorbo from my shows, one of truly the scream tootsit not dishwasher safe. I'm mentally stable.
Security bot. And it's out of control, unlike all the others.
He looks pretty chill, honestly.
There's no other way. You'll need to fight your way through. You can handle this. I know you can.
Yes, I have a gun. He doesn't. that usually means I win. Pew! 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 And now we have the dash power. Incredible. This little block here. I wanted to bring up not ReXelection, no, that's something else. I wanted to bring up acceleration before this block for a very specific reason, and that's because at this point you don't know about the crouch dash yet, but you do know about the regular dash. Now, you're going to try and walk up to this and use the regular dash to see if you can fit under it, because there's no crouch. Huh. It automatically lets you crouch dash. Now, this is a very big problem, and a very big flaw in the game's design, and I'm sure you'll figure it out on your own once we get to exactly why. Once again, the game's teaching you that walking into these funny little blocks, you can dash under them by just choosing to dash regularly. If you have to use a crouch dash, the game will let you do so automatically. Or rather, you probably don't even realize there is a crouch dash, you just think the game automatically lets you squish under obstacles if you need to. Which, you know, it's a very nice quality of life feature, so from even if you have good game sense, that's probably the conclusion you would make. This is also the part where it introduces the insta-kill death spikes of game design, which will be causing about 90% of the average player's deaths, outside of the boss fights anyway. These things are awful. Now we get to the first boss fight of the whole game, which is you know, it's great. It's a nice little introductory boss. Big hurt boxes. A big weak spot that you're supposed to hit it on, an invincible part. And overall, it's a pretty good job of introducing you to all the game's many wacky mechanics regarding these boss fights. Including one that isn't very fun, which is the fact that absorption is not just a wacky mechanic for outside of boss fights, it's also crucial for dealing damage to bosses. Because once a boss gets low enough on health, they become invincible. You have to quickly press the funny little button, or they will start regenning, and all your damage will, over the course of a few seconds, be undone. Which is just great. Just lovely game design. Part of me wants to just not put Saijiro in this video. I'm pretty sure this is the only time you even see him. But then part of me wants to bring him up just because he just is that useless and this game's plot is that confused. There's a few things I want to say about the radio tower. One, it has probably the easiest mighty number boss fight, which is why I recommend doing it first. Two, it has strong winds as its signature mechanic, which is fairly inconsequential and just a minor annoyance at best. Third, Beck makes a really loud stomping sound whenever he walks on this stage. So the big draw with this level is obviously the song. Very good, very nice little song, very nice song. But gameplay-wise, the main defining feature of this level is the verticality. This level involves going up a lot. Oh.
And now, live from Avi News World Headquarters, continuing coverage of Nation in Crisis. As you can see, Avi, the robot rampage is not letting up. It's chaos out here. Chaos. Will this be the end of our proud republic, or will a hero emerge to save the day? Whatever happens, Avi News will be there. Your number one source for ethical journalism. We report, and you there do whatever you want. Until next time, good night and good luck.
They let this man have way too much fun. Avi actually has substantially more dialogue than every other mighty number combined. He shows up in numerous levels other than his own, which is something I cannot complain about because he is well and truly the Blorbo. The strong winds, of course. The main mechanic of this level. They're just kind of inconvenient. They're not really, like, significant. They don't really affect your style of gameplay, really. They don't really affect your strategy. They're just kind of here and a little annoying, and they make it really easy to fail the platforming and have to restart. This level isn't that bad compared to some of the other ones. It's just very underwhelming. It took me 3 playthroughs to figure this out, but that is actually not the ideal path. The ideal path for this section is this. This took me some time to figure out. I suppose it's nice to just have a few secret paths spread across your game. Makes replaying it a little more interesting, but then again, who would replay this game? Actually, don't answer that.
We have an accident about to happen on the airship, Avi.
We have an accident about to happen. Yes, 911, I would like to report a crime I'm about to commit. I never have figured out how to do this section properly, and I probably never will figure it out. The game wants you to climb up the wall here, but it's this fun little mechanic with how acceleration works, where if you use it with an up current, you move up a little. Now, this is a very fun mechanic, actually, and I enjoy messing with it quite a lot. It's also not how you're supposed to do this level, but I'm going to do it like this anyway, because I think doing it like this would be funnier. And just like that, we've made it to the boss fight. This is probably the easiest Mighty Number boss fight, and it's why I would recommend doing this level first on your Mighty Number 9 playthrough. Not that I'm assuming you're gonna do one, but assuming you are, this is probably the easiest boss in the game, so a great place to start, and a very useful power if you made it.
And now, live from atop Avi News headquarters, continuing coverage of Tower of Terror. And now to Avi for the weather. Thanks, Avi. We got strong winds out there today. Be careful. Moments before he fell to his tragic death. Ooh, sorry that the news segment's getting cut. And live from Boston,
You know, it's only hitting me now, but I can probably dodge this move by, it's a little scary. Yeah, I can do that. That's probably the intended way to dodge this, now that I think about it. To this day, no idea what the intended method is on dodging those bombs. I have no idea how to tell where they'll land. This is probably the best strategy for getting him down to lower health consistently. This little camera box section. Which is the strategy I would recommend that you use for this boss. Oh no. 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 That went quite well. Pretty much every gamer can figure out what'll happen now. This is where you unlock the cool new weapon. And Avi is probably the best one in the game. Not combat-wise, but mostly just because it trivializes actually all of the platforming. Oddly enough, I would consider the ReXelection mechanic in this game to kind of be like stance shifting in Yakuza 0. You can have up to 3 just linked loose buttons, but you can have a 4th on a separate button that you have to open a menu for. And that 4th one you can just select manually. It's a little confusing to explain, and it's also just confusingly designed, but I assure you it'll make a lot of sense when you play it. This button is a direct change, this button is a direct change, this button is a direct change, and this one opens up the menu for a 4th ReXelection power, which I can just switch to by, well, pressing this button, I guess. Future CG here, I just figured out how this menu works. You use the select form up and select form down button to open up the menu and maneuver it. Then when you've made your selection, you press the other button, and boom, you're that one now. Doesn't work if you press any of the other ReXelection buttons, because those are your presets. You cannot overwrite those. You need 3 separate buttons to pick a specific weapon. There comes a point where I can't even say, oh, haha, look at how badly the game explains it. It's funny. There comes a point where I can't even make that joke anymore. Like, no, this is honestly kind of painful. I feel like this menu was originally supposed to be how you select all your ReXelections, but because opening it doesn't pause the game, they just felt like it would be a little impractical, so they added 3 little hot slots, little buttons you can press to immediately switch to your favorite ones, just as a little countermeasure to this. Now they could have also, you know, made this pause, but no, this is functional. So the gimmick of the military base isn't necessarily that there is an actual gimmick, it's mostly just there's a new obstacle, that being landmines. I'm sure we'll find a few of those as we go. We've also got these enemies, but these come back later, so I wouldn't call them a stage exclusive gimmick. These guys, if you let them just chill, put themselves back together, which is not a very significant mechanic because the game's already conditioned you at this point to immediately glom up any enemy you defeat. Are they? Also just struck me, these drones, they were in the cutscene on the radio tower stage, but they weren't actually in the game. Oh yeah, it's the enemy, it's that mini-boss, but small. There he is. I'm not gonna lie, Battalion is probably my second favorite mighty number. He's just a military screaming guy. He feels like a caricature of every Call of Duty protagonist, and I just kind of like him for that. Ah, this is exactly why I brought Aviator along. You haven't been seeing me use this one because, as I said, it has very little combat application, but I'm not entirely sure how you're supposed to do this platforming section without it, so I'm just gonna take this and run. Okay, $5 is going to be a landmine here. Oh yeah, so those are the landmines I was talking about. As I said, they're more of a gimmick than really a proper mechanic. But that goes for a lot of things in this game, really.
Commence the invasion. Let loose the dogs of war. Charge!
He's being dramatic.
Picking up large clusters of robots headed toward the city.
Hey, right, you're supposed to bump off the platform. That's true. Maybe I'll figure out one day what is up there. Actually, no, I'll probably forget about this the second I beat this level and never come back here. Whoop, and there goes the first F of the whole run. And just about as I would have predicted, it's 2 purple spikes. Fortunately, I can just skip pretty much this entire platforming section with Aviator. I don't know why I didn't do that immediately, honestly. What a useful little power. Wait, am I already at the boss fight?
Fighting is in our programming. It's in our circuits. It's what we were made for. Battle is our destiny.
Oh goodness me, he jumps. Now there's a fun little mechanic with bosses in this game. And that's that if you lose to them enough, the game just gives you power-ups so you can cheese the boss. So if I can't figure out how to dodge this guy's attacks consistently, that's okay. The game doesn't actually require you to do that. Very nice game design, very cool, thanks. Okay, so this is the most fun part of the boss. Yeah, big fan of this part. This instantly kills you. But fortunately, I have the move that lets me cheese this part. No, Bat, I'm not like you. I am not a violent maniac because I'm not American. That's actually racist. Okay, and now the best combat-based power in the game. Now, I know what you're gonna say. You've seen someone else play this game and they said the sword guy was the best. Now, please consider the following. Yes, sword guy is good. He can deflect projectiles. He can just avoid projectiles he hits, even if the projectiles don't get destroyed. But you know, that's all well and good and all. But please consider the big bomb. The gimmick of the highway is that it makes the plot really confusing for about 5 seconds and then never again.
I'm warning you, Beck. Stay away.
Oh look, the game drops. But as for actual gimmicks of this stage, well, that's a gimmick. Also, the road is instant death. I just wanted to say that. Yeah, don't touch the road. That's just fairly good advice in general regarding highways. Just generally don't step on those. Usually ends poorly. Man, this sucks. I can't shoot that. Man, if only I had I don't know, a big bomb. Oh, and also the radius gets bigger if I have a power-up, which is totally necessary. Yep. That's fair and balanced. Whoopsie. Haha. Whoopsie. This is actually quite fine. You see, there's another fun trick for this particular area of the game.
You're heading into a tunnel. It might affect visibility. Be careful.
I'm pretty sure that line of text is only there just to give some more time for the game to load it all in, because this is a new area. I actually really like the aesthetic for this. Just very nice. Very big fan of dark tunnels with lights in them. Close call. Oh yeah, and also these things just kind of ignore everything. They ignore shields because it's a big bomb. Shields tend to not help against those. Yep, this sure helps maintain the flow of the level. I also completely forgot to mention, yeah, weapons actually have ammo in this game, which you can refill by gnoming people. Very nice, useful feature. I feel like they only added ammo in just because they felt like it needed to be Mega Man. But that's okay. I like how they made fun of weebs in this game's reveal trailer with the anime Final Prom Night line, but then Brandish is a character in this game. Hey, would you look at that? We made it to the boss fight. Very cool. Indeed he isn't. There's just no good plot reason for it. My head is a gun, don't ask questions.
Brand, tell me what's happening.
I can't control myself. If you want to save me, you must destroy me.
I'm actually taller than this nerd, lol. There we go, a smooth dodge. And okay, and that sets us, that basically sets us up for the whole game. Those are the only 3 powers we need. So, as I said before, a lot of people think this is the single best ability in the game. Personally, I think it's the second best one, but it definitely has its advantages, and it will be crucial for a boss later on, which I won't say the name of yet. But, I mean, you already know there's going to be more bosses than just the mighty numbers. Oh, beautiful. Oh, that's the good stuff. Oh, yeah. So from this point onwards, we can really just do a bloody whatever in any order we so like. So let's just get to the most infamous level in the game. For reasons that, if you know anything about this game, I need not explain. The power plant actually has a pretty good gimmick, that being that. Interestingly, the explosion does not make light, but the bomb itself does. Might as well just take this opportunity to get into why so many people think Brandish is the best power in the game. Well, Sword does not consume gun ammo, because it is not gun. No, but the main reason people like this one so much is because it syncs really well with the incredibly high mobility of Beck's dash. And the damage output is also a little bit better than the gun. So really, you could just replace your gun with this ability. I'm going to add great googly mooglies to my vocabulary. So remember when I said the crouch dash was very poorly explained and that was a problem somehow? Now, you might be wondering, use the crouch dash. Well the game tells you to do it right there, right? Yeah, but you don't know the input for the crouch dash by the time you get here. Because you have probably not checked it out in the tips menu, the game has not told you the input for it in gameplay. So you're probably going to just dash into this and die several times. You're supposed to hold the down button and then do that twice. Simple enough, but when you don't tell the player that they're supposed to do this, usually causes some complications. You know what I mean? One thing I'll give Dinah is, while I don't like her as much as Avi, I could definitely tell the voice actors had a lot of fun. Speaking of...
Dinah?
So it's you! You've come for my power? You want to take it from me? We'll just see about that!
Yeah, actually, this is kind of melding through her. No, never mind. This is actually kind of decent. So, the Capitol building is a little different than most of the other levels. The goal is not to reach the end of the level because, well, it's not a looping level. It's actually a circle. Once you get to the end, you go back to the beginning. But the main the main thing that sets this level apart from the other ones is that your goal in this one is to assassinate Steve Blum, who is presently in the White House. Yes, that's right, Steve Blum, the guy from every video game. He voice acts every character. Because there's male characters in this game, Steve Blum has to voice act at least one of them. Higashi from Judgment is currently trying to kill me with a sniper rifle, and I would comment on how weird that is, but after Freddy Fazbear joined the Abyss Order, nothing really surprises me anymore. Now I know, trying to assassinate Steve Blum, who's currently got hold of the White House, might sound like a pretty cool level, but no, this game finds a way to ruin it. There's no checkpoints, meaning if you die in this level, you have to start the whole thing again, which is a little bit unfun, I will admit.
See, I'm not the only robot tired of the status quo.
Need a little assistance, Spec? No problem. That's what big sisters are for.
The fun thing is, because this level isn't linear, you can actually just go several playthroughs of this game and not see that encounter once and just wonder where Dinah is. Which is honestly not that big of a loss, because I'm pretty sure that's the only thing she does. Oh great! Right before the end of the level. Isn't that just lovely?
Enough.
Oh boy, we're gonna fight Steve Blum in his cool new office. Very cool.
Listen to me, Shade. You're malfunctioning. Freedom doesn't require all this suffering.
Emancipation is worth any price, even if it costs human lives.
Anyway, while Brandish is essentially your primary weapon but slightly better, Countershade is essentially your primary weapon but worse in every conceivable way because it has very few ammo and the increased damage it does is just kind of pointless. Sure, you can hit 2 enemies with it, but what about just throwing a big bomb?
I'm seeing a lot of flame-equipped robots. Keep them away from the oil, or things could get hot, hot, hot.
Actual, very concrete advice. Oh, very nifty. Unfortunately, the levels are not actually designed for you to be able to do that, so... The gimmick with this level is that the floor is covered in oil. No, not the kind that lets you fly in rain. No, the slippery kind. And also the kind that's highly flammable. Allow me to demonstrate. So yeah, you don't want to jump in that.
Bring it on. Here we go.
It's so nice walking through the rain with an umbrella.
The world must burn!
This is another really fun part of the game. I'm a really big fan of this part. Really fun. This is the area that just has 17 billion gazillion different hazards that deal small amounts of damage to you. Very fun, very fun. There's also quite a few of these funny purple spikes. I don't know if you've seen them before. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. There's nothing special, you know. There's nothing. I don't have any strong opinions on them.
Heat has compromised the integrity of nearby structures. Please proceed with caution.
This would have been a very stressful part of the game, but because Aviator exists, it just kind of isn't. Like most of the hazards in this level are just kind of reduced to nothingness. Anyway, I'm gonna just stand outside what is very obviously the boss arena. Whoa, oopsie, no, never mind, we're going in. To this day, I don't actually know how to tell what move Pyro is about to use. Still don't know like what the pattern is supposed to be on him. But fortunately, that doesn't matter because you can actually just whoop. You can just do this, and that just kind of you just kind of do anything. Oh yeah, this is fun. If you run into him while he's blue, he actually instantly kills you, which is just a great mechanic. Really fun. Oh, and anyway, that was the boss fight. I like how getting the correct power makes certain boss fights slightly easier. But no, this fight basically does itself once you have Avi. And we, in return, get what's probably the worst power in the game. The ability to explode is not bad, mind you. As I've already said, throwing big bombs at things tends to solve problems very easily and efficiently, but being a big bomb isn't quite so great because, well, the range is pretty much nothing. So the Waterworks level's gimmick is that you can't really see what's going on. But besides that, the gimmick is that it's the low gravity level because everything takes place underwater. Which is okay, I guess. Personally, the whole low gravity thing is mostly a draw for me because that means I can basically just skip the whole thing with the reduced fall speed of Aviator. So yeah, that's nice, I guess.
Careful, Beck. Contact with any of that malfunctioning purification equipment could be fatal.
What a great time to tell me that. What? Sorry, what?
Okay, let's try this again. After all, revenge is a dish that's served cold. Oh, you aren't hurt, are you, Beth? Here, let me put some ice on it.
That's more like it.
Very cool. Cryo isn't a worse version of Beck's regular weapon, nor is it a better version. It's just kind of there, and there's not really a good reason to use it, but there's no good reason to avoid it. If you think it's fun, then go for it, but it doesn't really do you any favors. And we've already beaten Battalion, the guy who's weak to that, so... The gimmick with this level, which might I add, is also actually the final regular level before we're getting to the endgame. The gimmick with this level is these rocks. You cannot destroy them. Except with Gasp Battalion. This isn't a very cool level. This is great game design, by the way. Interesting. So, Gamer Instinct is telling me secret room with good stuff in it. Fight or Flight Instinct is telling me no.
Professor? Professor, can you read me?
Oh boy. I wonder how the game expects you to solve this without having a battalion or something. This is just a mash fest.
3, 2, 1,
Thank you. Something tells me boss arena, so I'm just gonna let my ammo charge a little, which takes a while, but that's okay. Yeah, actually I'm getting bored. Mick is actually the most powerful mighty number, though the game never actually says this. The reason he's so powerful is actually because he had obtained a forklift certification. Oh, you can grab onto those. I don't know. We'll see. Just noticed you can grab onto the walls. Incredible. Third playthrough. Still learning new things the game failed to teach me. Cool. Apparently in the Japanese version of this game, Mick is actually not a robot, it's just a regular guy in a forklift, and Beck takes the forklift certification from his cold, dead hands. But apparently this was censored in the West for some reason. No idea why. That sounds pretty cool. Okay, so this will be fun. So the first thing you might notice is that I'm no longer playing Beck. Very cool, more than one playable character. I sure hope she gets more than one level. Few things she can do that Beck cannot. First of all, she can teabag, which is not useful at all, but I mean, you can have it. Her gun can only have one bullet in the air at the same time, instead of Beck's free, but it's bigger and deals more damage. Her dash is a regular dash, instead of an Excel dash, which is not great, because not only does that mean you cannot absorb enemies, but you can also not dash down, for some reason. So yeah, across the board, not great. She also has this to replace her ReXelections, which is okay. Oh yeah, alright. Call can float. That's cool, I guess. This is a kind of fun enemy type, though it's nothing more than a gimmick, really. You have to let its attacks go over you, and the enemy will take care of itself once it's defeated, because, you know, you can absorb stuff. Which is a good addition to the game. It's you know, the bare minimum they could have done. I think all the enemies should do this. Spoiler warning, and not all the enemies do this.
Interesting.
What is it, Cole?
I often detect an aversion to combat in Beck's vocal patterns, while I have no such reluctance.
Yes, well, that,
All of Professor White's designs have such contradictions.
Yeah, I feel like they might be focusing on the wrong thing, like, wow, why is it so weird that all of Dr. White's robots don't want to kill? No, I think the arc they should be setting up here is, Sanda, why can I kill? Why am I programmed to kill exactly? But oh well. Oh hey, cool, this is the worst section in the game. We finally made it, guys. Just everything in this. I think I don't even need to comment on it. I think you'll figure out exactly why this section sucks on your own. The key cards, just the bad map layout in general. And now we get to my favorite part of the whole game. I'm certain you can already see where this is going. You're not actually supposed to do this, but that's not going to stop me. Oh cool, first try. Let me just flex on every Mighty Number 9 Let's Player. Welcome to today's episode of Can You Pet the Dog in this video game? The answer is no. No, he's covered in blades. So from what I can remember, the gimmick of this fight is that once he's blind, his moveset radically changes. And after a while, he'll call in reinforcements. And if he calls in a bomb, he'll eat the bomb, which is very bad for him because eating bombs tends to be bad for your health. And if he calls in a security camera, he gets his eyes back, because he steals the eye from the robot. Oh, cool. Damage. Actually, can you? Oh. Well, that's great to know. There we go. That wasn't so bad.
Now then, back. You needn't fight every robot you see.
That is not only not a mechanic in this level, that's also just wrong. No, getting every robot is actually optimal in this level.
Here we go.
It's like we're getting stronger versions of regular enemies, guys. We're in the end game now.
The security system is scrambled. As it is, you must hit the panel there to open the door. It only remains open for an instant, but that should pose no problem for you.
Yeah, they get you to do a few puzzles with your various Mighty Number abilities. Very cool, very nice feature. Except I haven't used half of these. Oh well. Is he here?
Hey, get it together, you two! Tyrannosaurus Rex is here!
Honestly, that is the best line in the game. It's so incredibly stupid. Like, how can you not love it? Getting good at this. Yeah, so there's a couple of ways to do this. You're actually supposed to do that with counter shade. That whole little crevice is actually designed specifically for his weapon and its trajectory, but I don't feel like doing that.
Young one, not to worry. Nothing here my blades can't handle.
He says young one, but he just sounds 22.
Maybe if you spend more time fighting and less on your lame puns.
Just remember your tactics.
You see, the funny thing is, this actual high school girl talking to Steve Blum is actually right about being older than him. Canonically speaking, anyway. Which is a little bit funny. I'm sure this section of the game would have such a me and the boys vibe if I actually cared about these characters. Thank you, Avi, you're cool. Which brings us to the boss fight. This is him. This is the boss fight. It's just a little tank, just a little guy. He's not that scary. He's only 7 meters. He's only building sized. He's just the size of a suburban house. That's honestly not that bad. What a great time to run out of ammo.
The cyber terrorism attack you were arrested for was to stop Graham?
Whoa, that's so cool. He got the gamer setup up in here.
If she's been activated, it's already too late. Trinity cannot be
I
stopped.
can't believe they gave him a Jarvis in his maximum security prison.
Carrots!
I blame her creators. I blame the shareholders. I blame corporate society. I blame my parents. You're Bill Blackwell.
Oh, the plot thickens.
No, my name is William White. I'm not Bill Blackwell. And I haven't been for long.
I feel like some of these plot twists rely on us being a lot more invested in these characters than we actually are.
What should we
I
tackle
mean,
next?
this was like the second game in the franchise or something, maybe, but... Anyway, we've got more important matters at hand. This is the last level of the game. This nightmare is almost over. Let's just get comfy in my seat. How you doing, future mate? Making my way downtown. Hopping off the Fortnite battle bus. Where are we dropping? Okay, so the enemies in this level are actually unique. They have a cool little mechanic. They make little red and blue balls when you snag them. And there's an interesting little mechanic with that, where if you don't absorb them in time, those little balls turn into projectiles, which, you know, hurt. Yeah, I still don't know how these blocks work. I still don't. Yeah, I might as well just get in and out. This level has several pretty big mechanics. Not that any of them make any sense to me, but it doesn't really matter because for some reason when I walk up to them with Aviator, they just stop working for a second, which is great.
Bring it on.
Whoopsie. I see what must be done here. This is a job for the helicopter man, which solves all problems.
Nice clear.
Oh yes, of course, this area.
The path! It's gone!
Trinity is getting serious about absorbing back. A wall here would be instant assimilation.
Not very useful immediately, but that's good to know. Whoopsie, haha, I picked it up. Never mind. Because lives don't stack past the number 9. Oh, cool. Also, I'm dead. I'm almost at the end of my third playthrough of this game. I still don't have the slightest clue how these work. Like, genuinely, how? We'll never know. Oh, hey, that's the final boss. Okay, so I should probably make my selections. I feel like all of these are bad for this particular boss. I guess this will be nice.
Save Trinity.
I'm gonna shoot her. Let's get this bread. Come on, you and me. Perfect Cell or something. I don't know. I don't watch Dragon Ball. Okay, so watch this cool trick. I know, very cool. This is well and truly the trick of all time. Should have crouch dash, I guess. I must say, for phase 1 of the final boss, because of course it's going to be a phase 2, this is not that bad. This is probably a lot easier than it should be. Yeah, like that.
She's struggling with what she's done. What she'll do next. How to control her power.
Don't go off, Oomfie, you're destroying the world.
Show the world that robots can evolve.
Why is she running a lower frame rate than everything else? Very odd. I'm sure there must be a valid canonical reason for this. Trust me from the future, this is gonna be the run. Well, that was just a perfect golden eye. Getting close though, this is gonna be the run. See, that's what I've been looking for.
Mission clear.
So, this is probably my favorite character design in the game behind Avi, but don't enjoy it for too long because it's gonna be gone in like 2 seconds.
I did it!
Let's just skip this, I don't feel like looking at this. I'm bored. I'm gonna drink some water. Yeah, that's a sequel bait for a sequel that's not coming. So, the goal was to beat the game in under 6 hours. I think I did that.